Welcome back to FURYCAST. But first, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and of course, smash the bell for notifications. And don't forget to sign up to the mailing list for my new graphic novel, illustrated by the world-famous Gi Canales. Sign up now. The link is in the description. He's a former collegiate wrestler, former pro wrestler, current brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and currently the head coach and co-owner of Force Jiu-Jitsu. Today on FURYCAST, I welcome my new friend, Wyatt Montgomery. How you doing today, Wyatt?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. You're all the way in Douglas, Georgia, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. So I got to know you or got familiar with you. We're Facebook friends now, but we're part of a group we'll talk about a little later. But I thought you were an interesting guy, and I know your school is you started it recently, but you're doing very well. And I restarted my school after I had to shut it down for COVID. So anybody that's doing good and doing good things, I definitely want to get to know them and pick their brain a little bit. But take me back to a young Douglas, his dreams of becoming a martial artist, or you didn't have dreams, you wanted to be a wrestler. What's your story? How'd you first get introduced to grappling?
Yeah, man. So it all started for me in middle school, actually, just wrestling, and then going up through high school wrestling, and then going to college and wrestling. And then initially, funny story is, I actually got into right after high school. I got into a little pro wrestling, a little WWE type stuff, and we was in Nashville, and I was typically just giving these kids out my medals, my amateur medals that I won during high school, college, and stuff. And I got onto my last medal, and I told myself this would be my last pro wrestling match that I was going to do. And I was right next to Valdosta, which is about an hour away from where I live at now. But I gave her kid the medal, and then hopped in a ring, and I was doing like amateur type wrestling moves in there. And the dad pulled me after, and he was like, "Dude, you look like you wrestled before. Are you interested in MMA and all that?" Well, it happened to be his name was Chase Rowden. He's freaking he's good. He's legit. But anyways, he hooked me up with my coach then, Jimmy Barnett, and then everything just took off from there.
Now that's interesting, pro wrestling. So I want to get into that. But first, so when you were a kid, what first did you grow up in Douglas?
No, actually, I was born in Alaska, and I moved there when I was 2 weeks old, so I don't remember anything there. But I grew up in Hazelhurst, which is about 30 minutes from Douglas.
Okay, so I've spent a little time not in Alaska, but in the Pacific Northwest, and a lot of those guys work boats in Alaska and stuff. You know what I mean? And they're some of the toughest human beings on the planet. I don't know if it's their proximity to Russia or what, but there's a lot of tough men come from that area. Were there a lot of tough men in your family?
Oh no, like I said, I was born in Palmer, Alaska, and we was over there for I was over there for only 2 weeks. And then we moved to Okeechobee, Florida, and then I stayed there for a couple of years. Then I moved to Hazelhurst, Georgia. So
But what about your family though? Did growing up was your dad like a tough guy? Did you have tough uncles, stuff like that, or
oh yeah, my dad, my grandpa, all of them was Army brats. So I'm the only one that didn't follow down that the Army line. So
that military tradition? Did because I'm trying to figure out there's a fighting spirit I believe that you have. Do you think that was inherited or something that just you developed on your own?
well, none of my family's athletic. None besides my dad and my grandpa is the only one that was in the military and stuff like that. But I think everything really started with me. So
Okay. And did you start wrestling in elementary or middle school? Because I know some parts
yeah,
of the
my
country.
seventh grade year I started.
Okay, yeah, here in Texas, there's not a big wrestling tradition. I moved down here from California. I kind of like yourself was born in one place, moved to another place, moved, and then settled here in Texas. You know, sheesh, over 20 years ago. But when I was in California, wrestling was a thing. Here in Texas, wrestling really isn't a thing, although some schools do have wrestling programs. Was it a thing in your area?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's when I did start, it wasn't what it is today. Now it's kind of getting off a little bit, but in the nearby area, pretty much every school had a wrestling team.
And how did you first, when you were a kid, how did you first get introduced to that or desire to, want to do that?
One of my friends asked me to, funny enough, and then I just did it. I was traditionally the only thing I really played was football, and then just from football I gradually just started to get into wrestling. Just got offered to try it, and I tried it and just fell in love with it.
Now, what was that like in middle school wrestling?
Oh, it was fun. It was fun. My seventh grade year, I had a Justin Bieber type hair, so I had used his little the water cap, and that wasn't fun at all. Especially having your head drugged into the mats and stuff. But yeah, I had a lot of success in middle school and high school years. So.
And then so you went to high school. What was that like? Was it pretty competitive doing wrestling where you were at?
Oh yeah, I was. I went varsity all 4 years. My ninth grade year, I did pretty well. I made it all the way to sectionals and got put out in sectionals. Very young, very immature. And then my sophomore year, I was undefeated. But you know, I was not. How can I say it? I was not the. I did not have a good head on my shoulders at the time, and I got kicked off because of my grades. Um, of the wrestling team. So that was about 2 weeks before the postseason, and then my junior year I placed third. Lost one time, which happened to be in the semifinals, and then my senior year, uh, 2 weeks before the Sweet Onion. What area? I was in a tournament for Sweet Onion. I went to throw a kid by with two on one Russian, and his elbow caught me in the temple and gave me a concussion. And then I wasn't able to participate in the postseason. So that was I was never allowed to get to the big one per se. So
That was doctor's orders, or was that mom's orders?
yep, yep, yep,
Doctor.
yep. Had to be out for 2 weeks, and it was a week before the postseason. So.
Now, growing up, were you into like martial arts movies or wrestling movies, or what were you into as a kid? Or
A big portion of my kids and teenage years were mainly surrounded by football. But then when I got into high school, then wrestling started to pick up a lot for me, especially my sophomore year. But as far as the movies, absolutely. Um, there's I've always been like a big fan of A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger.
Mhm.
He has his reference in there. He says a man can change stars. So that's kind of like grew on me for everything I've done. So it's kind of that's made me really push myself as far as like my mixed martial arts journey.
I remember seeing that in the theater, and I haven't watched it. Excuse me, I haven't watched it since. I remember it being a good movie. I should probably,
Oh man,
revisit
it's
a
awesome. My
Knight's
favorite movie of
Tale,
all
right?
time.
Yeah, man. I remember digging it back then. So at some point you put wrestling aside. I mean, not wrestling aside, football aside, and focused
Football.
in wrestling.
Yep, that's when that was the decision whether to play football in college or wrestle in college. So that's when I split from football.
You went straight into wrestling. Now that worked out because you went to college and wrestled, correct?
Yeah, I did. I went to university. I mean, well, first I went to Bruin Parker, which is NAI school. I had to take some tests to get my grades and everything up to qualify to go to University of Montana. I went to University of Montana, wrestled in a couple of tournaments up there. I stayed up there for about 3 to 4 months and actually got homesick and took a Greyhound bus 64 hours from Montana to Georgia, just because I got homesick, my daughter and wife. So.
Oh, so you were married back then, or
Well, funny enough, so I was 15 when I had my first child, and my wife, she was 13, and we've been together ever since. And that we was together in 2012. So
look, man, we're trying to get away from stereotypes. You're from Georgia. You know what I mean? It's like I'm
yeah,
from the
man,
South
I
too,
get it.
baby. We're trying to give the South a better name around here, man.
I get it. I get it. I've been on my own since I was 15 with that. So I mean, it's that's
Do you
the
think
probably where
that's
the warrior spirit and all that came from.
yeah, that's what
Just
I was exactly about to get to. You think that I mean that there's a lot of different um not emotions but reactions a 15-year-old can have when he gets the news, right? So your reaction was to what was it? Was it to dig in deep, start taking things seriously, or
No,
was it to
no,
split?
that is not what I did at all. No, I was the shithead the same. No, and all of that stuff, no, not at all. That really, I have a lot of thanks to give to Jimmy Barnett for kind of allowing me to go down a journey to where like it's self-improvement and things of that nature, and that's really where I started to get into jiu-jitsu and so right after I got into BJJ was when I finally started to really pick things up for myself.
And explain to everyone who Jimmy Barnett is.
So Jimmy Barnett, he's the owner of Tech Center in Eastman, Georgia. He's a former MMA fighter, and he's under 10th Planet under Stephen Aiken, who's at a Perry, Georgia. Um, so Jimmy's the man. So he's definitely helped me in my journey and definitely helped me being to where I am today.
So you're one of those no gi guys.
I am
Yeah.
absolutely no shirt.
And because I came up at a time when you did gi one day, you did no gi the next day. So it was like, okay, today we're doing gi, today
Absolutely.
we're doing no gi. It was no big thing. Now there's a big riff, I guess. But um, I don't no gi's fun. You know what I mean? The gi's
Yes,
fun.
sir.
It's jujitsu. It's fun. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So take me back a little bit. So you're in college, you get homesick, you come back. Did you go back to college and wrestle, or
I
was
did
that the
not.
end?
Right after I got out of college, that's maybe well, I was let's say I was living inside of Jimmy's gym for about I want to say 7 months after I had gotten back. So during that time span, pretty much all my energy and all my time and everything was invested into BJJ and things of that nature. That's during that time is where I started like he allowed me to start picking up, coaching classes. I brought in a wrestling program into his gym, and that's the time where I started like taking over kids classes and things of that nature, and it grew on me, grew on me, grew on me. Months after months go by, and then eventually he sat me down and was like, hey man, we're thinking about opening up another gym, in Douglas. So initially we both started the gym together, with him being the owner, me being the head coach, and where we are in Douglas. And then months happened, COVID happened, the gym shut down, he went back to Eastman. Yeah, I went back with him, but also I decided to stay here to open up my own. So I started, brought these little piece together mats into the back of Anytime Fitness, and it was about, I don't know, 85 of them. So I had to come in every day before class, 3 hours, and piece them together and take them back apart, because we also shared the same room with Zumba. So we have to pick them up before every class, take them down for every class. So it was a big hassle. But now we got these wrestle mats that you can see in the back, so it's a little bit more easier. So, um,
Dude, you're
yeah, man,
speaking my
that's
language. Same thing with me, man. I mean, even right before COVID, I have some Swain, mats, um, that the big Swain mats. There's, I guess
yep,
you wouldn't call them sectionals. I don't know what you'd call them, but there's, to put them down, there's like 10, 15 of them to put them down and have a class. And I had a little room. It's actually, I don't know if you've seen my movie. A lot of stuff you're talking about kind of hits on the movie I made, Lion Killer. The poster's right behind me. But
oh,
it's about
nice.
a struggling jujitsu instructor who's living in his gym. Well, at that gym we shot it at, after we were done with the movie, a good friend of mine, we shot it at Taekwondo school, and we flipped his puzzle mats up, because they were red on one side, blue on the other. So we just flipped them upside down for the blue side, because it looks kind of like, a lot of jujitsu schools have the blue mats. So we
Yep.
kind of made it look like a jujitsu school. But after that was over, he asked me to come and like open a jujitsu program, which I did until COVID kind of crushed that. But it was the same thing. It was like in this old warehouse that he didn't really put money or effort into keeping. So there was leaks in the ceiling. So I'd have to come in and put the sectional mat, those big long swains by myself, and then 15 of them down and up and down each class, because there was drips from the ceiling. There was leaks in the ceiling. So if it rained, it would rain all on my mat. So I had to pick them up and put them down each class. And so and then after COVID, I reopened in Missouri City, Texas, which is another suburb of Houston. So yeah, we're speaking the same language, man. But so take me
Nice.
back, because it seems like we skipped a little bit right now because now you're because I want to go back to when you went from wrestling. You have a baby at home. You're no longer wrestling anymore. What was your next step? Was that to get into pro wrestling, or what you do in the meantime?
Okay, so
And
yeah,
how
so
old
what
were you?
happened was
18? 18 at this point?
well, I was 19 when I got into BJJ. So going from high school, I went into Bruin Parker. I wrestled there. Got home. I worked at Terra Fair State Prison. I was on a CERT team over there, and then got tired of that, so I decided to become a personal trainer. Went into personal training, and then that was pretty much my job right there. While I was training with Jimmy, so I would live in Douglas. I would travel to Osceola, which was about 50 minutes away, back, and then I would go from there to Eastman, which is an hour and 20 minutes and back. So pretty much when I woke up, all the way from like 12 o'clock at night, I was like either on the road or at one of those two gyms. And that's pretty much what my life was for the longest there. And then, initially, I got into college, got accepted to University of Montana. So I left Jimmy's gym, went to University of Montana, came back, and then when I came back, I stayed inside of his gym about 7 months, and then that's when we opened up the other gym.
But excuse me, when did you get into pro wrestling?
Okay, so yeah, so it was right after high school, maybe a couple months. I just, I had a good friend who and his dad used to put on the wrestling events in like the fairgrounds in my home city, and every Saturday they would go up there and whatever, and then you could usually like if you got up there early you can go onto the ring and play in the ring and do those types of stuff. And typically I got there early enough where you can get in the ring with all the other wrestlers, and they while they're warming up and doing shit and all that kind of stuff, and you get in there and you just you just see how fun it is. And it's honestly one of the most funnest things I've ever done in my entire life. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of freeing. You create this character and you just go in there, and it's a lot of fun. And then I just fell in love with it. And I was asked if I wanted to kind of like have a match and stuff, so I tried to match out, and it was a lot of fun. And then it kicked off from there, and I did that for a couple months. And then one day I said, hey, like I don't think I think I want to start doing something else. And then initially that night is when I met Chase Rowden. So that's funny how things added up.
Did you get far enough along to develop a character and all that stuff?
No, of course not. It was so bad that I wore my high school wrestling singlet that had Jeff Davis on there. So everybody named me Jeff, even though the announcer called me Wyatt. Everybody thought I was Jeff. So I was Jeff Davis to everybody. So,
But it seems like it was an important part of your journey because it connected you to who you needed to meet to get into jujitsu. What was your
absolutely.
first? Now, when he brought you down or asked you, hey, to come check out jujitsu, what was your first jujitsu class like? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, so it was in the gi. Coming from being a wrestler, going into the
Yes,
gi.
the
It
key.
was the very first time I stepped into the gym. I remember like it was yesterday. I coached a kids class. I coached a wrestling class. I went into his kids class and coached a wrestling class, and then the class after that was the adult gi class. I remember having this big old gi on, and I just remember not being able to move in a sense to where like you can just like go from point A to point B and just be freely, and there's like no grips, no whatever. And then now all of a sudden you got this older gentleman holding you down, holding your cross collar, and you can't go anywhere. So I remember being very frustrated.
That's the purpose. You know what I mean? Like, well, let's get you freaking out a little bit, see what happens. You know what I mean? Um, so so did you like it though?
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. That I knew right then and there. I didn't know how, but I knew then that's pretty much. I've never like typically in my mind, other than personal training, I never thought I'll be doing a 9 to 5. I just knew that I'll be doing this. I didn't know how it was going to come about. I didn't know if I was going to be competing, making a lot of money. I didn't know if I was on my own gym. I just knew that this was what I wanted to do. And then deep down in my journey, I just started gain a skill from it. And now I'm at the point to where I can start helping people. So it's been a blessing for me.
So how many years have you been training jiu-jitsu now?
So overall, wrestling and jiu-jitsu all combined is 14 years. With me going back to my seventh grade year, and wrestling each entire year. But as far as jiu-jitsu, I'm about to be going on year five. Yeah, about year five. I started February 2019.
Man, the you're so blessed to come in the time period you're coming in, because the people learn so quick now. You know what I mean? People
Oh
and
man, yes.
the the amount of time it takes to get good is shortened so much. Um, and people share so much information. Whereas when I came in, I started in '05. Um, you couldn't get the brown belt in the corner to show you, and I mean black belts now you'll see a black belt roll. Black belts didn't roll with underbelts, and they didn't share from the people you're paying. These are people you're paying, so you had to like get in with a blue belt when you were a white belt or a purple belt who kind of took you under his wing. It was a different time in jiu-jitsu, and it was almost like, I guess it was kind of cool in a way, because it was like this secret society that you were entering and you had to pay your dues. But we've kind of moved
Yeah,
away
yeah.
from that, where it's like, I mean, if you're in, say you're in the middle of nowhere and you've got an internet connection and a couple buddies, and you're willing to, travel, you know, once, twice a month, 60 miles, 80 miles somewhere, then just look at YouTube videos. I think you could
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
pretty much get stuff figured out now. The information is out there, you know.
Absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. So what's next in your journey then? So go ahead.
Oh yeah, so right now, obviously, we're in tribe, and that's they freaking, almost changed my life around, as far as, that self improvement journey, and that's along with my business. But other than the goals inside my business of wanting to reach, better heights, more members and things of that nature, also, the goal has always been to be a world champion. So that's always what I'm,
So are you
that's
still
a huge
competing?
goal of mine right now.
So
Yes,
you're
sir.
still
I just
competing?
competed this weekend, so got first place in a advanced tournament, so it's pretty exciting.
Okay, so and your goals are what, to go to Worlds, ADCC? What's the
Yeah,
journey?
so right now we got ADCC trials coming up. So for this year, it is ADCC trials. But I do want to compete in IBJJF Worlds. That's been a goal of mine. I've been doing a lot of local tournaments and a lot of local submission only tournaments here as late. But I think it's time to start venturing off and trying to
Mhm.
achieve these goals.
Well, take me back to so when your instructor decided to after COVID, I guess, to focus on his school, and you decided to open up your own gym. I'm sure you're still affiliated. I would imagine you're still affiliated with him. Um, how'd the wife take it? Did the wife have concerns, or?
So yeah, so we were sitting in a pizza place, Hungry Howie's, and I wrote on a piece of paper Force. I just wrote it. I'm like, you know what? I'm opening the gym, and I got the picture on my Facebook, but I held it up, and I took a picture of it, and then the next day, I'm an assistant coach for the high school wrestling team, and they had this shirt there at us. You know how you can walk into the wrestling tournaments, and off to the right there'd be like a stand of t-shirts and all that
Mhm.
stuff you can
Yeah,
buy. Anyways, they
booths.
had shirts there that's already made and stuff like that, and on it was Force Wrestling. And I looked at it, I was like, man, that sounds very interesting to me. I'm a huge, huge, huge Star Wars fan, and so I'm a huge Anakin fan, Anakin Skywalker, and that kind of just like blew my mind away. That I wrote down on the night before Force, and then that popped up. So I bought the shirt, and then a week later, I the karate guy posted on Facebook, the karate guy down the road, and that he was selling those pieced together mats. It was a 30 by 30, and he was selling it for $1,000. I didn't have the money at the time, so one of my good friends, Corey Levins, bought the mats for me, and then I just allowed him to train for some months, and then I laid him down behind me, and ever since then, that's what we've been doing.
So Force. So
Of
did you
course.
ever? So you're in the Star Wars, and like
Let
I'm
me
a
tell you how
film.
much I'm in
Go
Star
ahead. Go
Wars.
ahead.
I thought my second daughter was going to be a boy, and so I was planning to name him Anakin, but it came out to be a girl, so we named her Annika.
Annika. Well, not Leia.
We thought about it as well. So we want a Annika and an Anakin. So we have another boy. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be awesome, man. Um, yeah, so I mean, I'm a filmmaker, writer, and of course, martial artist. But I've also, I'm working on like my new project right now is a comic book called The Gentleman's Guild. It's like just this action packed martial arts adventure. But I worked in comic book stores, or one particular comic book store here in the Houston area, and so a lot of my friends are still hanging around with it. It's kind of like a nerd culture thing that I'm involved with. Did you ever get involved with reading comics or anything like that? Or
I didn't. I didn't.
yeah, you don't strike me as a comic book guy, but yeah, dude, you should check out like a lot of the well, of course, there's a lot of novelization of Star Wars, but a lot of good stuff in comics, as far as Star Wars as well.
I'm a
So
big Yu-Gi-Oh guy.
a big what?
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! That's
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
anime, right?
yeah. That's about
Yeah,
the only
dude,
thing I got into.
I hopped off I used to be super into anime in the '90s when no one was into it, and Fist of the North
Oh man.
Star and all this cool stuff. And I hopped off that train a while ago. I need to veer back into it and check out what's going on. But yeah, man, you ever get a chance, just peruse the local comic store, check out there's some really interesting stuff, and that Dark Horse Comics and Marvel has put out for the Star Wars. But so did your wife, was she supportive of your opening a school? Because I mean, it's a difficult thing to take on. How did she react?
Oh, dude. Oh my gosh. Like nothing would be the same. Nothing would be going on for me right now if it wasn't for her and her support. She's literally taken a back step in her life to help me achieve the things that I want to achieve and help me on this journey. And if it wasn't for her, man, nothing would be here. And she's a huge help for the gym as far as closing the people, appointment setting, managing, keeping meeting people. Like she does so much. So
You got a
she's
closer? She's
definitely
closing, bro?
she's doing it all, man, behind the scenes.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's really awesome. And so when you guys originally started off, how did that go? How did you find your spot and everything?
With the gym.
Hmm.
Yeah, so going back to me being a personal trainer, I was uh I was actually getting personal trained about with the personal trainer that was here at Anytime Fitness before I went to college because I was using him to prep my strength conditioning for University of Montana, and he so happened to buy out the owner that was here, so he became the owner, and then so I just got really good in with him and asked him one day, I said, "Hey, dude, back here, let me." Let me start up a program and I'll pay, So he's just ever since then he's just say, pay me this X amount and let me have at it back here. So,
And how'd you go about? I assume you started this before you were working with Tribe, Combat Business
oh yeah,
Success.
without doubt, yep.
So, well, not knowing anything, how did you get your first few students?
Pretty much just being known as a competitor. People just knew me from wrestling, just things of that nature, and so you know that has I kind of came in with kind of like a slight name. Just ever since then is now it's more business minded, so it's like more advertising and stuff like that. But starting out it wasn't so pretty, but
Did you do anything with flyers or like,
nope, I didn't do anything, man. The only thing I really had was a Facebook page.
and you just told people, "Hey, I'm teaching
Hey, I'm
how
back
how
here.
to."
Come on.
I don't imagine there was a lot of kids in the beginning. Was there a lot of kids in the beginning?
No, no, I didn't. We didn't start up much. I didn't even start a kids program at first. It was just mainly an adult program, and then as after a few short months went by, then we started getting into a kids program and such. Then our kids program has grown tremendously. So has our adults, but that's how we started.
And is it straight grappling at your academy, or do you
Yep,
have
yep. We
kickboxing?
our name is Force Jiu-Jitsu, so we're just straight grappling.
So no MMA program, no
No, sir.
nothing.
Nope.
You're not gonna get in there and fight a little bit. You're just gonna do the.
Oh yeah, man, I always had an itch too. I told my wife I want to be a world champion in BJJ before I stepped into MMA and really started to put all my time and attention into there.
So you do want to fight eventually. What are the promotions
Oh,
out there?
absolutely. The goal is by 2025. So
Or there's some good amateur promotions, pro am promotions out there.
we got Combat Night, which is local, which is in Tallahassee, Florida, and such, and then we have NFC, which is in Atlanta.
So then, what's the next step in your business martial arts journey? How did you connect with combat business success?
Oh yeah, so once again, it was through Jimmy. He was in it initially, and then I got into it with when Alan Belcher was doing his thing inside of it, and then I was only in it for like a month or two, and I gotten out of it. And then circling back around, me and my wife was just talking like, hey, how can we, how can obviously we grow this business and everything? So reached back out the tribe, and then this time around we've really gotten onto it. So ever since then, it's completely changed for us. But as far as our next step inside of tribe, definitely is to get to entrepreneurs, and that's something that we're hoping to do, by the end of next month. And then, inside of the gym, we just passed 52 members. Well, 50 members. We're at 52 members now. So, the goal is by the end of the year, have over 100. So,
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm trying to emulate your success, man. Definitely. So you when you first connected with them, you had like what 9, 10 students. Is that
so
correct?
yeah, in December, I believe it was, I think it's the 10th of December. Anyways, yeah, we had 9 students. So it was,
Wh-
yeah,
What do you think the
we was in a
big
rough patch.
difference? What do you think the big difference was? What made the difference to really get you? Um, I guess to get the
Oh, that's
students
easy.
in.
Yeah, that's definitely myself. That was definitely changing everything I did about myself, the way I talk, the way I act, the way I talk to people. It was all me.
Now, how'd you act before? Was it more the traditional uh, gym rat? Hey, come train if you want to train mentality, or
Well, I'm coming from wrestling, just so competitive. I would, hey, it was like, hey, let's go. It was one of those types of I just wanted hard roles and stuff. I wasn't I wouldn't say I was cocky or anything. I was just, I just wasn't the type of human being I am now, per se, and
yeah?
I didn't really give people the respect that people deserve and stuff. So me having to overcome a lot of my insecurities, me having to grow, and me actually having to, ego check myself a lot, and really having to do some internal changing. And it's allowed me to treat people better. It's allowed me to become more business minded. It allowed me to, kind of like understand what I'm doing wrong. The same thing with jiu-jitsu, understand your technique and what you got to do better, and things of that nature. So it's just pretty much changed my mindset and allowed me to, like this past weekend, me and my wife was talking, okay, how do I get to the next level? I won this tournament this past weekend. Okay, what's next? How do I get there? Well, everything reverts back to my personal life. Well, I have to fix my nutrition. I have to fix this. So it just reverts itself back and forth. So the more that my personal life and the more that I'm working on myself, everything else starts to work itself out as well.
Awesome, awesome. So what? So now you're at. Are you still inside the Anytime Fitness?
I am. Yep, I am.
Is that's a pretty cool little spot? Is that? Are you
It's a
still?
30 by 30. Yep.
Are you still? Because I think at one time you were splitting that with Zumba. Are you still splitting it with Zumba?
Well, right now Zumba don't have a lot of members, and so they're actually in the front part of the studio in there, and you
Mhm.
can probably hear their music right now. But typically, when they have enough members, they'll be back here, and I'll have to roll these mats up all the way to the wall over there before and after the classes. But right now, for the past couple of months, we haven't been having to share them, so
Is there a
it's been
plan
pretty laid
to
back.
get your own spot or?
But that's the goal. As soon as we're kind of like reverse engineering our situation, and this is something I thought about. It's easy for me to rush into a scenario of having my own stuff right now, and then borderline. be struggling instead of building it from the inside out and having all the members and having 120 members or whatever, and then go into our own spot where we have a lot of comfortability to do whatever you want and not struggle as far as like the labor costs and all that other kind of stuff. So we're just trying to build it inside out, which is it's been harder to start at scratch that way. But for me, I feel like this is the better way to go because in the long term, like it's just been better for us. Instead of me taking out $25,000 loan and having to have open up a gym and not knowing if I could get members or not. It's kind of like, oh, I started with nothing and I had no money and now I got members and now I can, start building.
So straight jiu-jitsu, straight no gi jiu-jitsu, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're not gonna put a gi class in there, baby? One
Oh,
little gi
we are.
class?
We're gonna put a geek class in. We as soon as we're what we're wanting to do is right now we're trying to grow in more classes.
Mhm.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna split our kids program up into different age groups, and then after that we're gonna start incorporate. We're this week we just started incorporating our lunch classes at 11 a.m. and then we started incorporating a no gi takedown class on Tuesdays, and then next is gonna be a geek class.
Yeah, so all your kids, were you doing 5 to 12 or whatever?
So right now we're doing 6 to 13.
Six. So you don't take 5-year-olds at all?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I take 5-year-olds, but the plan is to like eventually break that into like a 5, 6, 7-year-olds and then eight
Yep,
to
yeah, that's what
12.
we want to do. Is 4 to 6, 9, six with 7 to 9, and then 10 to 13, something like that. So
4-year-olds, that's gonna be fun.
yeah, man, yeah, it's it's gonna be fun.
I love kids. I've been working with kids since the 90s. So yeah, I've the majority of my membership is kids, and I'm building that, adults up slowly. But kids are a lot of fun. You just have to, be patient.
Absolutely.
It's a fine line you have to walk on, which is you have to be stern, you have to be the sensei, quote unquote, but you have to be fun and likable and a lot of other stuff. So who's going to
Oh
teach
yeah,
that?
man. Yeah,
You
that's it.
teach kids, you teach kids
Yes,
and
sir.
adults, you teach the whole thing.
Yes, sir.
Any are you going to bring on any staff anytime soon?
Oh, without a doubt, we're wanting to get on to bringing on another appointment setter, and then after that it would be a closer, and then we'll start packing down, having a coach for each program. So well, what we're doing is once we have all the systems incorporated, we'll have the people behind running those systems and incorporating the systems, while I'll go off either build another gym or to the point to where I can go off and travel and do the things that I need to do.
Yeah, man. You want to win worlds, you want to go into MMA and build gyms. You might need to
Yes,
clone
sir.
yourself like in Star Wars, man.
I know, man. I know it's
Go to
hard, but
Geonosis.
it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything you do, how old are you now?
Well, funny enough, not many people believe me, but I'm 24.
24, dude. You've got a huge jump start on everybody,
Yes, sir.
especially even with kids. You got a huge jump start on everybody.
Yeah,
But
be a
it's
man at a very early age, so it's
hey,
kind of helped me along the
eh,
way.
yeah, but I mean to be 24 and where you're at with in business is quite an accomplishment, man. You should be really, really proud of yourself, and you and your wife together should really be proud of what you've done so far. Um, So I guess you'd be the youngest person I would ask this question. All your experiences so far, which are robust. You might be 24, but you've lived a good life. What are the life lessons you would like to pass on to your students or to anyone listening to this
Yeah,
podcast?
so we have our every gym's about culture. We do a really good job, incorporating our core values, into me and my wife's personal life and then
What are
into
your
the
core
gym.
values
So
actually? Because I've been writing mine down and rewriting my core values. Do you know them off the top?
yeah, man. So pull the trigger, don't hesitate, pull the trigger, be your own hero. Everybody has their own decisions in life. You get to be your own hero of your own story. Be humble. That's a big one for us. You got to be humble in every sense. And then force first, we keep a world-class facility, world-class environment on and off the mats. So and Oh, yep, action taker. There's always going to be a scenario. You can put the blame off somebody else, or you can take it. You take the action. You take the responsibility, whether you're right or wrong. If you're wrong, you still take that. There's some type of action you can take. So it might not be your fault. Who cares? Just take the responsibility for it. You don't have to take the blame, but the responsibility and action that can be taken from it. So
Well, those are good life lessons to pass on. And I'm sure you're instilling those in the kids, and adults need it too. But adults are hard headed, man. You could tell them, but
without a doubt, I think right now with adults, more or less, it's I think a lot of people are I think as the years and months go by, I think a lot of people are really falling short of building trust in themselves. Like these social proofs. It's like how do you know if you're ready for a tournament? Well, you prepared. With that preparation becomes social proof. You just like created a contract with yourself, and through that you create this confidence in yourself. And I think a lot of people have failed to do that. Whether it's to do with nobody wanting to be independent in their responsibilities anymore, or it's just a lot of people are just not wanting to get uncomfortable anymore, not wanting to put themselves in those uncomfortable things to allow the social proof to get there. So I think majority of what we've done in our adult program is to try to help people gain that confidence, try to help people get to that next level mentally.
also, man, you're doing this full time now.
Oh, this is all I do.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. So, any more advice? One last piece of advice for anyone with a gym out there that might be, struggling at, they're stuck at 10 students, 20 students, 30 students. What would be your
Yeah, man. I
advice for
think
them?
I think the biggest thing that has helped me is I don't know if you call it imposter syndrome or what you would call it, but there would be times to where I would be too scared to post on Facebook or to do X, Y, and Z because of this what this person would think, what that person would think, and it kind of limit a lot of my potential and a lot of things that I wanted to get with. But just like this past week in the same mindset, it's like no one gives a damn. No one cares. They don't care if you win, they don't care if you lose, they don't care what you post. No one cares, and if they do, then who cares? So just pull the trigger on everything that you wanna do in life, and it's literally you versus you. And once you figure that out, life is just so much more easier because it's just more you worry about somebody else's expectations or what somebody's emotions of you are, than the more that you just sit inside this box of yours, and it's like you just go nowhere. So you really, really just got to sit down and just really just do you. That's all you got to do. It's you versus you.
Awesome, awesome. And give your academy one more shout out so the people could if they're in the area could find out about you.
Yeah, man. So we're Force Jiu-Jitsu. We're located in Douglas, Georgia. So yeah, come give us a check out. We're no Gi Jiu-Jitsu. So we do kids and adult programs, and we also have a takedown class coming up. We got lunch classes, afternoon classes, and we also have some classes on the weekend. So we're really made for everybody, competitors and newbies. If you want to grow, if you want to get better, if you want to achieve your goals, come find us.
Awesome. Well said, man, for the young phenom, the 24-year-old sensation, Mr. Wyatt Montgomery. Hey, I want to thank you for being on the show, man. Tell your wife I said
Thank
hello.
you
I've
so
never
much.
met her, but I appreciate the good work she's doing. So I want to thank you both for bringing jujitsu and just being people of standard. So I'll talk to
Yes,
you
sir.
soon, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And there you have it, everybody. My conversation with Wyatt Montgomery. If you're ever in the Douglas, Georgia area, please check out his school, Force Jiu-Jitsu. You can also follow my new graphic novel, The Gentleman's Guild. Yes, I'm making a graphic novel. It's called The Gentleman's Guild with artist Ebi Canales. You can sign up for the mailing list now. The link for that is also in the description. And don't forget to watch Lion Killer, my debut feature film. That's right, I made a movie. It's called Lion Killer. It stars Regina Ting Chen, who's currently on season 4 of Stranger Things. You can watch it at Amazon Prime, Tubi TV, Freevee, the Roku channel, or you can pop on over to the YouTube channel called V Movies. Before you go, make sure you like this video, comment down below, subscribe, and yes, even hit the bell so you can be notified every time a FURYCAST video drops. Till next time, peace.